As well as the standard fair use policy, this video is protected under the Treaty of Peace and Friendship 1787.
Moors are awake. We are taking our place on this planet.
Islam Moors.
My nationality is Moorish.
All right, Mr. Edmonds. Hear ye, hear ye. All present are ready to do for the Honorable Judge Deacon, Judges of Superior Court, now sitting movement. For the transaction of criminal business, draw near, attention, and shall be heard. God save the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. May be seated for the now session.
Jurors, let me ask you if everybody can comply with the instructions I reminded you at the end of the trial day yesterday. All jurors indicating the affirmative, either by saying so or nodding their heads. You, jurors, thank you for being prompt. I apologize. We thought that by having chair attendant, we would be able to start the matter on time. Sometimes our estimates are off. That's the case here, but I appreciate your continued patience. Please know that we don't take it lightly. We had a witness on the stand yesterday.
I think we excused the witness, Judge. I think we're on with the witness.
You're right. Thank you. It's behind my notes.
Let me just make sure the witness is outside. Sorry.
Sure.
Commonwealth calls approved for work.
You solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Thank you.
Good morning, Captain. Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you.
You may proceed.
Good morning, sir. Good morning. In a nice clear voice, can you have your full name, please? Would you be good enough to spell your last name for our court report?
Yes, it's Bruce E. O'Rourke, O''R''O''K''E.
Are you employed, sir?
Yes,
By whom?
the Department of State Police
How long have you been in the state police?
since 1994.
What assignments have you had in your career with the state police?
Worked in the field division, crime scene services, I worked in the detective division, and I currently work in scenes and training.
And field is uniform, is that right?
Yes,
And for a period of time were you assigned to the state police detective unit attached to the Middlesex District Attorney's Office?
yes.
For what years?
I was there from 2004 to 2012, and then from 2014 until 2022.
Were you working as a state police on July 3rd, 2020?
Yes,
And sometime that morning, you respond to the vicinity of Wakefield.
yes.
Where did you go?
I went down on Main Street, down by the Rotary, the 129 Rotary in Wakefield.
And then later that morning, were you part of the investigation in the aftermath of the incident on the highway?
Yes,
At some point that day, you go to the Andover Barracks.
yeah, yes.
What area of the barracks did you go to?
I went right in the front door and was on the first floor.
And was there a particular person that you observed inside the smoking room area of barracks?
Yes.
Who was that?
Upon Alcarat,
What did that person look like?
he was, he had a goatee. He was wearing camouflage, tight camouflage shirt, light skin. Don't remember his hair.
And was there a point at which you had a conversation with that person?
Yes,
After which, did you go do something?
yes.
What did you do after that?
I retrieved his cell phone.
Where did you get that from?
It was in a ballistic vest.
Okay. Was there a particular vest that you had gone to obtain that phone?
Yes, the vest was on the booking bench.
Okay. And ultimately, what was done with that phone?
I put it in evidence bag and entered it into evidence.
Where was that vest in relation to the individual upon Alcarat? It was in the book room.
They were both on the bench. He was seated on the bench.
Can we get a spelling of on Alcarat? We may have already done it.
Yes, first name is Aban, L, and then Curragh. Yep. L is. Recognize what it is.
That's the phone I took from the vest.
It's in a bag today. Is it, apart from being in a bag, is it the same condition it was when you covered it?
Yes.
Whatever, this is the next example. No objection.
Objection.
Without objection, it will be exhibit 68.
Yes. 68. So long.
After July 3rd, 2021, did you have a further role in the investigation in terms of working on that investigation?
Yes.
As part of that, was there a point at which you went to the various barracks in Medford, Danvers, and Andover?
Not all of the barracks, no.
Well, let me start with Medford. Was there a point at which you went to the Medford barracks?
The Medford barracks brought the others to me.
Okay. And when it was brought to you, what condition was it in?
I don't recall the exact condition.
Okay. Were the smaller items, were any of them in bags?
Yes.
I'm going to show you two items which are already in evidence. How many of you recognize these? This is exhibit 66. We look at the bag, look at the market, look at the item. How many of you recognize that?
Yes, I recognize the cell phone that was entered into evidence.
Are there markings on the packaging indicating that it was collected by your state police unit, detective unit?
Yes, there's a sticker.
And what was done with it once you collected it?
It was the identity that sticker was in it.
We give you exhibit 65. And looking at the object in the bag as well as the bag and the markings on the bag, you recognize that.
Recognize the camera, yes.
And what was done with that?
Same entered into the area system for the detective unit, and given the state, but place a stick on there.
These are exhibits 65 and 66.
That's right.
So 36,
66.
oh, but Carol.
All I have for Captain O'Rourke.
Cross examination.
No cross.
Solicit.
1 minute, you're on.
Right.
Morning.
Well,
The Detective O'Rourke?
sure, that's fine.
Okay. Detective O'Rourke, you said that you currently work in, training, is that right?
Standards, the standards, division. Standards and training mode, standards stuff.
Okay. Are you aware that in 2021, the state police rolled out their body worn camera program?
Yes,
And, in your capacity in either as a state trooper, detective, or in training, is that a program that you're familiar with?
yes,
And the state police have a policy related to body worn cameras and cruiser mounted cameras, right?
yes.
And that started to be rolled out in March 2021, is that right?
I don't know the exact date.
Okay, but here
It
to
started with a pilot program, and then it became fully, then it became department-wide after the pilot program, but I don't know the dates.
okay. Is that a program that you were, is that a policy that you were trained on?
Sure.
Okay. And the purpose of that body worn camera and cruiser mounted camera program was to improve police community relations, right?
I don't know.
Same objection as before.
Yes, sir.
Overruled.
I don't know what the purpose is.
Okay, so you're not familiar with how or why that program is
Well, you asked that question again, not the.
Yeah, I'll make it simpler, sorry. You're not familiar with why the state police started using body worn camera.
I would have to speculate.
Okay, that's fine, nothing further.
Redirect.
No, you're right. Thank you.
Captain, that concludes your testimony. Thank you very much. Your
Thank you. Thank you very much.
next witness come along.
Commonwealth calls Stephen Conor.
Please solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God.
I do.
Morning, Mr. Trooper.
Yes, sir.
Morning, Chief Conor. Welcome. Morning. May proceed, Council.
Morning, sir.
Morning.
We have a nice clear voice, your full name, you also spell your last name for record.
Trooper Stephen Conor, CONOR.
How long you been a trooper?
A little over 6 years.
And what's your current assignment within the state of Maine?
I'm a trooper at the State Police Academy Stars.
That's a uniform position.
Yes.
Were you working as a trooper on July 3rd, 2021?
I was.
At the Danvers Barracks, is there a booking room there?
Yes, there is.
Did you have occasion to book an individual that day at Danvers?
Yes.
Who was that individual?
He was identified as Conor Pierre.
When he was brought to you, what do you recall about his appearance?
He had just come from the hospital, so he was in a hospital gown. He had long hair. He was wearing he had a necklace and bracelet, I believe.
Okay. And as part of the booking process, did you photograph that person?
I did.
Recognize the individual in the photograph that I placed before?
Yes.
Who is that?
Conor Pierre.
Did you take this photograph? Did you take that photograph?
I did.
Is it a fair and accurate depiction of the way he appeared to you on July 3rd, 2020?
Yes.
Offer this to the next exhibit.
No objection.
Objection.
Without objection, it'll be exhibit 61.
Show you whether the 2-page document, recognize that to be the registry of motor vehicle at the bottom wall.
Yes.
So you see that it has a certification stamp on it as well.
Yes.
You recognize the individual depicted on the front page of that 2-page record.
Yes.
Who is that?
Conor Pierre.
Offer this to the next exhibit.
ID or exhibit?
You can mark this one right. Mark it right.
It'll be exhibit LL for identification. Did you say mass RMP?
Yes. And lastly, I can show you. See that this set of documents includes a subpoena.
Yes.
We see that there's some records produced in response with some booking information. See that?
Yes.
You recognize the individual depicted in the photographs in that booking information.
Yes. Conor Pierre.
Mark this for identification.
It will be exhibit M and Marion for identification.
Nothing further for
examination.
No question, Your Honor.
No question.
Trooper, that concludes your testimony. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, maybe we heard on the Woodford device for submitted.
Sure. At this point, I'm told that there's going to be some evidence is going to be brought, or items going to be brought to court with Conor to present as evidence. And that's going to take a few minutes reconfiguration of the courtroom. And rather than having you just sit here while that's going on, I think we're going to take it. We're going to excuse you for just a very few minutes, probably 5 or so. But we'll have you come back in right away. We're going to remain in session. Excuse you, just step out. So hopefully, if anybody needs anything, you can attend to matters. But please bear in mind, it's going to be a very short period of time.
All right, your incident. We'll start with the first roll, followed by that roll, please.
anybody needs a brief break, feel free to take it. I want to stay in session because I don't want the, sort of, there's a delay built in whenever we recess that I'd like to try to do it. Consider the tourism have been out for a few minutes. But if anybody needs to excuse themselves in the courtroom briefly, that's fine. We're just going to remain in session. Please return to the courtroom as soon as you can. Yeah.
All right, straight after. You be seated. We're back in session. Thanks, Ms. Conor.
I will call Gregory Jones.
Fine. Yeah, stop right here. There's the clerk.
You solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Thank you.
Sergeant Jones. I apologize. Good morning, Sergeant. Welcome. Good morning. You may proceed, counsel.
Thank you. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
In a nice clear voice, we have your full name.
Gregory Jones, last name Jones, Jones.
What do you do for a living, sir?
I work for the Massachusetts State Police,
How long have you held that employment?
18 years.
And what assignments have you had during your time with the state police?
Started off as a road trooper, which on a highway patrol. Did that for 6 years. The rest of which I've been in firearms identification section.
What is the firearms identification section?
Firearms identification section is a unit that responds to crime scenes, collects firearm related evidence such as guns, ammunition, rifles. We also intake evidence from other submitting agencies around the state, other police departments. They will give us their evidence to test to see for check for functionality, see whether it does function properly at manufacturer design, as well as do comparisons of discharge cartridge casings to see what weapon they might have been fired from, and the same thing with projectiles for bullets.
On joining the firearms identification section, you had to undergo any kind of specialized training.
Yes.
Please tell us about that.
Yes, most of which is hands-on with another qualified statistician, firearms expert. But we also do a course through the National Institute of Justice, which is an online course that takes you from basic education of what is firearm, what is ammunition, how to safely handle each piece, and so on and so forth. And that training altogether is usually between 18 and 24 months.
And since your initial joining the firearms identification section, that you had to undergo additional forms of training for updates to your training.
Yes, we
Michelle, about that, please.
yes, we go through testing, the competency test. We go through that to make sure that you know what you're doing when you go to a crime scene, how to process a crime scene, how to handle different firearms, how to document all of your findings, and so forth.
What I'd like to do first is, before we get to that, do you occasionally work with manufacturers of firearms or receive education from manufacturers of firearms so you can stay current in the field?
Yes, we'll take armorers classes where we'll go to some of the top name brand manufacturers. They'll show us how to totally break down the firearm, see how it works in terms of parts work. They'll also show us some of, if anything, malfunctions, how to identify it and correct the same firearm.
In terms of testing different firearms, different weapons to see if they're operable, how many times do you think you've done that in your career?
In excess of 300 to 400 times.
And in terms of, have you had to testify about the results of test fires?
Yes, sir.
In what court?
This court here as well, Middlesex Superior, Worcester Superior, Worcester District, pretty much all the major courthouses around Massachusetts.
And so you've used a number of different terms that I want to sort of unpack based on your training. When we refer to different types of weapons, is there a term that's sometimes used to refer to multiple weapons that are called long guns? Do you hear that term?
Yes.
What? And in your training experience, could you break down for us two general types of long guns that you've encountered in your time with the state police firearms ID section?
Sure. Some long guns are semi-automatic, which means with one squeeze of the trigger, the firearm, that rifle will expel a projectile down the barrel. The discharge, the cartridge case is now considered discharge, which it'll eject from the chamber, the breech area. A portion of that energy now has a feeding device under, or most people say magazine. A portion of that energy now has a spring underneath the magazine, letting the next live piece of ammunition be seated in the chamber area and it is ready to be fired as well. In the case of a rifle, the barrel length is normally at least 18 inches.
And rifles have generally a system in them called rifle.
Yes, sir.
What is rifle?
Rifling is our cut areas within inside the barrel of the weapon, which basically stabilizes the flight of the projectile and makes sure it goes in the direction that is intended.
And what do you know? What about the rifling causes the round to move towards where it's being fired at and do so accurately?
Yes, it has a spin on it. It puts a spin on it, so it keeps it going in the direction of the flight path.
All right. So for a rifle, why don't you start just describe sort of the operation of it? What are the general pieces of it that you would normally see in a rifle?
You have what we call the buttstock, which would rest on your shoulder. You have the trigger area, which is where you would actually squeeze the trigger. You have the we call it in that area called the lower area of the rifle. You have an upper portion of it, which has a barrel, has the area where the bullet is actually going to travel down.
And in that, and then the barrel of the rifle, there's sometimes places for a person to hold it along the barrel. Is that right?
Correct.
What are those things called?
The guard. Could be like a forward grip.
Yeah, you described, I believe you called it earlier, a semi-automatic rifle. Are there other ways that rifles can be loaded and fired and discharged? What is left over from firing?
A different type of rifle would be a bolt action rifle where you would manually put the live piece of ammunition in the chamber and push the bolt forward, locking it into place. Once you fire that type of rifle, you would now manually pull the bolt back to get the discharge cartridge to eject. Some rifles are single shot where you have to keep on manually putting a live piece of ammunition. Others have a magazine or a feeding device underneath it, which we pull the bolt back, and that discharge cartridge casing comes out. The magazine then will shoot one up and close the bolts again, and you repeat the action all over again.
So you just keep using the bolt to move the ammunition of it to the right to be fired?
Correct.
Now, in your training experience, have you examined ammunition?
Yes.
Okay. Does ammunition have components or properties that it has to have for it to work with the ammunition?
Correct.
Can you tell us about those, please?
More people would call the coming of a live piece of ammunition, we call it the projectile. The projectile is held within a cartridge casing. Inside the cartridge casing, you wouldn't physically be able to see it, but there is powder or propellant. And on the back end of the discharge, the cartridge light piece of ammunition will be a primer. The primer is the area where the firearm or rifle strikes the back of that and creates a spark. Once that spark happens, you have a chemical reaction where the propellant or powder inside the cartridge casing now expands. It's like a small explosion. Once that happens, that will push the projectile or bullet away from the cartridge casing. Once in a barrel, it only has one direction to go, which is through the barrel out into the world.
Okay. And so once the projectile is fired out of the rifle, what is left behind anyway?
What is left behind in the rifle would be the discharge cartridge casing.
What becomes of that depending on the rifle?
So again,
Depending on the type of rifle you're talking about, what happens to the cartridge case?
depending on that type, it could be held in there where, like I said, in a bolt action, where you would pull it back and it ejects out. Or then it's a semi-automatic, it will eject it when it's on with a portion of the energy, now setting up the next battery extension.
And for certain types of rifles, they have magazines which can be detached and attached to them.
That's correct.
The other type of long gun, it's not a rifle. What do you typically see?
Shotgun, we call it a shotgun.
And would you describe to the jury how a shotgun works? How one will load a shotgun, fire it, and process of reloading?
The average shotgun that the average person might see, we call it a pump action shotgun, where each shot shell or live piece of ammunition is pushed up into a tubular magazine, which is the lower portion of the shotgun. Normally, the count is at 5, but you can put extended tubes on to make it go up to 7. To have that piece of ammunition ready, you're going to pull the shotgun bracket, one round. It would go up into the breech or chamber area, and it's ready to go. Once you squeeze the trigger, you would rack the pump action again, and that would normally eject one shot shell, and you start the process all over again.
And are there shotguns that are not, so just to be clear, are there shotguns that are not pump action?
Yes, there are shotguns that have double barrel, where you're manually putting the live shot shells right into the seating area of the barrel, closing the breech area, you stop manually, squeezing the trigger. The shot shells are expelled, and you have to break it open again to pull those shot shells out. Other than that, there are semi-automatic shotguns as well, which almost they act in a manner as a semi-automatic, where they have a magazine, a feeding device, and with each squeeze of the trigger, one shot is fired. The next shot shell is then loaded into the chamber area, and again, you start the process all over again with squeeze the trigger, shot is fired, the shot is fired, and the shot shell is dispelled, ejected. And again,
When you were describing ammunition, you were talking about rifles. What is the difference between what is projectile from a piece of rifle ammunition versus typical shotgun ammunition?
Ammunition, on average, would be either a buckshot or a slug, in a regular rifle or handgun, it's your regular, or average projectile or bullet with a sharpened, point to it.
For handgun and rifle ammunition, typically what is the bullet made of?
Copper, which is encased around lead on average.
What about buckshot?
Buckshot, normally will be like, oversized pieces. You have 8, you have 10, you have, different buckshot sizes. But those are more like oversized pieces that would be inside of a 2 shot shell. They could be 2.5 inches, 3 inches. That's the difference there.
All right. And have you ever encountered a type of ammunition for shotguns that does not fire these BBs or shot? Is there a different type of ammunition for shotguns?
Slug, metallic slug that would take the place of the BBs or buckshot.
And to tell the jury if there's a measurement system in place, you can identify different sizes of ammunition to fit different sizes of handguns, rifles, shotguns.
To that right there are many different sizes. We call it calibers. You have 380, 9mm, 40 caliber, 45 caliber, and that just describes the size of the diameter of the projectile that's going to have to travel down the barrel of the weapon.
What about for shotgun ammunition? There is some kind of measurement system that denotes the size of the shotgun and the size of the combination ammunition.
It's kind of similar on the diameter of the shell, which would fit inside of the various shotgun sizes, are called gauges. We have 12 gauge, we have 20 gauge, 410 gauge, and that just denotes the size of the cartridge itself that's going to sit inside the breech area or chamber area. That weapon.
At the firearms identification section works out of the state police laboratory, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Where physically is that at?
The one I work out of is Central, which would be the main crime lab in Maine, Massachusetts.
And the facilities there, when you're doing an examination and a test firing, what is the process that you follow from first getting the submitted weapon, bringing it to your area and doing the work? What's the process?
You first go into our computer system and type in your personal information to make sure it there show that it's now in your physical custody. Once you have that done, you're now taking it into our work area where we do things to qualify it, as we measure the barrel length, along with taking note of the manufacturer's title, the make, the model, whether it's a shotgun or a semi-automatic rifle or a pistol. We can know that as well. We also use a device that once we have it charged with no ammunition in it at this point, we do a trigger pull test. And that's just a gauge that goes around the trigger, You pull the gauge back until the trigger actually is activated. And that tells us how many pounds per square inch it takes for a person to get that trigger to actually activate.
So after the trigger pull test, what else is next in the process of doing these examinations?
If the weapon did come with, we call it submitted ammunition, we will take a piece of that to make sure it is actual live ammunition, and then qualifies with these parts. As I said before, you have the primer, you have the powder, you have the projectile, and the cartridge case. We use at least one piece there, take it into where we have a shooting room, which has a water tank in it. The water tank has a brass catcher net. And that way, when you fire a piece of ammunition, if it is a semi-automatic, the net will catch the discharge cartridge casing. You're firing it into a tubular hole, which leads directly into a tank of water. The water would collect the discharge projectile now, and that's where we would grab it with a suction device or net. And That's how that we only test out the weapons there.
So when you test out a rifle or shotgun, do you retain the discharge projectile or the discharge or leftover cartridge casing?
Yes, we collect both the projectile and the discharge cartridge case.
And we talk about sort of the operation of rifles and shotguns and air ammunition. I want to turn now to the operation of handguns. What are the two general types of handguns that you encounter in training experience?
Semi-automatic pistols or firearms, where similarly to a semi-automatic rifle, the barrel length on a semi-automatic firearm is anything less than 16 inches, whereas the manufacturer has it designed to, with each pull of the trigger, it will expel one projectile and one discharge cartridge casing, and you have to create that process all over again, pulling the trigger. The other type would be a revolver, and the difference between that is the revolver has the ammunition in a cylinder that would, with each pull of the trigger, this projectile is expelled, but the cartridge casing is kept within the cylinder. Once that cylinder is pulled, once that round is pulled, the cylinder rotates either left or right to align the next line piece of ammunition.
So as you're squeezing the trigger on a revolver, it's advancing the cylinder to prepare the next round of fire. Okay. Whereas semi-automatic, it works by using the power of the discharging projectile. Would that be accurate?
That's accurate.
All right. So in a semi-automatic pistol, in your training experience, typically where or what is the mechanism by which the ammunition is loaded into the pistol to be fired?
The mechanism being the trigger, or are you talking about the where the actual projectile is seated in the chamber or breech area?
What holds the ammunition?
The magazine, the feeding device.
And when you squeeze the trigger, does that ammunition, is it loaded in a magazine that has a spring?
Yes.
And as you described the semi-automatic rifles, each successive round is loaded as the other round is ejected.
Correct.
Is the procedure for examining and test firing semi-automatic pistols and handguns essentially the same as what you described with rifles and shotguns already?
Is.
Did there come a time, we're working on the state police on July 3rd, 2021, that time?
Yes, sir.
Did there come a time where you responded to the vicinity of Interstate 95 in Wakefield that morning?
Yes, sir.
And what did you observe when you got to the scene?
At that point, I went to what we call the command post to wait for orders, whether it was safe to go up to the physical scene where everything was waiting for orders there. Once that happened, once the order was given, walked up to the scene with coworkers and walked around and looked for anything ballistic or firearms related on the ground or in the area of the incident.
Right. And was there what were the areas you were focused on? Were they people? Were they vehicles? What were you looking around?
There were vehicles there.
After doing this initial inspection, what ultimately was done with those vehicles? They left on scene or were they?
They were towed back to the Danvers State Police barracks where there's a large mechanic bay there.
Did you also go there?
Yes, I was directed to follow directly behind the towing of the vehicles to make sure that they did not deviate from anywhere other than the path directly back to the garage.
And I'm going to just show you a couple of photographs. show you this first one to the 32. You recognize the vehicle depicted in Exhibit 32?
I do.
What is that?
It's the vehicle that I did see on scene as the dark colored, if not black, Ford Transit van.
Okay. Now, there's some things on the top of the hood. Yeah, you see that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Were those things left on the hood when it was towed to Danvers, or was something done with them before it was towed?
They were packaged away, but in a safe area where they would fall off the hood, and the vehicle had nothing on the hood at that point.
Show you this second picture, the 39. You recognize what is depicted in Exhibit 39?
Yes, sir.
What is that?
The second vehicle that I did see on scene on July 3rd as the gray or silver colored underbridge line pickup truck.
The record should reflect that I've published Exhibit 32 and 39, one after the other. So you went back to the Danvers Barracks yourself?
Yes, sir, with other members of the firearms identification sector. Oh.
And what occurred after that? What happened at the barracks that evening?
The vehicles were secured there. We weren't allowed to go through them as of yet. There had to be a search warrant.
Hear you.
The objection is sustained. First, you should disregard the witness's last answer. It's not something we can consider as evidence in the case. You can't use it in any way to deliberation. You may proceed.
So was there a point later that evening where you and other officers began to examine the contents of the vehicles?
Yes, sir.
Was that documented in some way as you went through each vehicle?
Yes, sir.
Were photographs taken?
Yes.
And what was done with each thing that you observed and removed?
We documented it well, when I said we, there's a crime scene unit. They take all the photos of everything in its natural state, in its natural position. And I saw, when I did see anything firearms related or what we call ammunition or anything firearms related, I pointed it out. It was then taken out of the different vehicles. Each item was documented on what we call our worksheet as to where we found it and what time we found each item.
And all right, starting with the black van, did you participate in examining that vehicle and go through?
I did.
And there come a time where you examined the rear area of one of the front passenger seat to look for items.
Yes, sir.
Was there something that caught your attention there?
Yes.
What was that?
There was a rifle that usually clears that was between seats.
Okay. Yeah. When you saw that, what did you do?
Extracted it from the vehicle, documented its make, model, and at that point, we were placing on the tables to make sure we had everything, every item.
I'm going to show you a photograph. Recognize what I've handed to you?
Yes, sir.
What is that?
That is a semi-automatic rifle that is clearly sitting in between seats, unsecured, with no type of safety device hindering it from either being easily accessed or fired. It's just sitting out open. You can also see some live shotgun shells on the seat.
All right, are these all items that you ultimately collected and examined further?
Yes, sir.
So is that a fair and accurate depiction of those items that you've mentioned in between the seats of the black van?
Yes, sir.
But after this is the next. So no objection.
Objection.
Without objection, exhibit 70.
Exhibit 70 of the record. I'm going to show you a second photograph. Ask you to recognize that. What are we looking in this photograph?
You're looking at a rifle between the seats, but you now also see a second rifle, semi-automatic rifle, just behind it, as well as still looking at ammunition, live ammunition inside of it. Their manufactured boxes and the live shot shells, which would go to a shotgun.
Fair and accurate depiction of the items that you observed in that area?
Yes, sir.
And again, the additional rifle that appears here, is that another item that you collected and examined in more detail after this?
Yes, sir.
Or after this next facility? No objection.
Objection.
Without objection, exhibit 71.
Let me hand you exhibit 70 as well. Comparing exhibits 71 and 70. Which one was, you know, which one was taken first? Photo or the photograph?
I'm not sure.
Which photograph has more items?
71.
And are both of these items in 71 things that you collected?
Yes, sir.
What is it, 71? Once you got these back to, well, let me ask it this way. So you recovered these. When they were recovered, what do you actually do?
After they recovered, after we know where we recovered them, what that item is, we place it in what we call a rifle box.
Okay. And as you do that, do you make any notations or markings on it so you can recognize the item later?
Yes.
Okay. What types of information do you put on the box?
We put down the make, model, serial number on the outside of the box, just to make sure we have everything in order, where it came from, along with having that same information on our worksheets.
Well, next to you, sorry. And then, I'll show you a box. I'd let you look at the markings on the box first. Tell me if you recognize it. And tell me if you recognize the contents of the box.
We recognize
Well, I'll show you the contents as well. Recognize the contents.
I do.
Okay. What do you recognize the contents of the box to be?
Of a rifle, with a scope that was attached to, as well as an envelope.
Okay. Where did you recover this rifle from?
From the seconds.
Okay. Is there something about it that is different than when you first found it?
Presently, the scope, we call it a scope is now not attached. The component is not attached now because it, a bit box.
Yeah. And what about the action area of the rifle? Is there something different about it today than it was when you first recovered it?
Yes, there's a zip tie going through the action area, and that just makes sure that there can be no ammunition related to this particular weapon.
So it can't be fired.
Cannot be fired in the present state. And basically, it's safe and will not hurt anybody.
And there's a small envelope in the box. Do you know what the contents of the envelope are?
Yes, here is a discharge cartridge case, and this that I did use to test with this particular weapon, and like I said, the water tank.
Okay. Your Honor, I would mark the box, its contents, as well as the next exhibit. I'll also separately mark the small envelope that came with this box.
So we'll mark the box exhibit 72 and the small envelope in the box is exhibit 72A.
Okay.
I didn't go through council.
Okay.
No, there. So exhibit 72 is the box and its contents. And exhibit 72A, which is part of the contents, is the box. So
Your Honor, I don't know if you want one of the court officers to open the box and show it to the jury, or I can do that, whatever the court prefers.
actually, my preference would be for the witness to do it.
Okay.
But because it's his training.
Sir, if you could, you could, I'll just hold you. Show it.
Even though there's a zip tie in here that would not allow anything, I always make sure pointing in the same direction away from each body. I do a double check to make sure there's nothing in there. Currently, there's no ammunition in here, cannot hurt anybody. This is rifle that I did.
Okay, and so now that we have a rifle that I should talk about, you mentioned something called the stock, and you mentioned the barrel. Can you just point those areas out?
This is the stock area, butt stock area. This is the barrel. This is the area where the magazine or feeding device would fit up in it. Once it's up here, load it all the way and locked into place. You would pull the charger, we call this the charging handle, pulling that back. Once you do that, you're charging it, letting one piece of ammunition being be seated in the chamber area. This is a forward grip to make it easier to handle when you're stabilized. This is the trigger that activates each separate firing of the weapon. Also, Over here, you have a switch that goes from safe fire. And, on this side again, once you have fired all ammunition in this particular weapon, this would eject the magazine, letting it come out, and you can fill up the magazine.
The part on top that you pulled back a moment ago, when that weapon is loaded with a magazine with ammunition, does that sometimes make a loud noise? You pull that thing back to
Yes, there's a magazine in here for the charging from the packs. And once it's back, you let that go. Once that goes forward, the chamber is now filled with a 5-piece of ammunition. Ready to go.
If you could put that back in the box, close up the box. Show you second item.
Yes.
So that photograph we looked at before, there appeared to be two long guns between the front seats. You recall that?
Yes, sir.
What I'd like you to do is look at the object that I placed before you. Open it up. First, look at the markings on the outside, and look inside and tell me if you recognize the contents.
Yes, sir. I recognize the ID patterns.
How do you recognize this?
These are the items that I did handle personally, documented same on my worksheets, as well as using one piece of did use ammunition that was submitted, did test fire this weapon. The now used ammunition is not discharging pressure gauge checked out here, and this weapon I did use.
And again, with the other one, is there something different about this long gun as it appears today versus when we first saw it?
Let me think the scope covering to this particular weapon.
And what about with respect to the action area for the magazine?
There is a zip tie in between, making it inoperable for a lot of expenditure.
Your Honor, I would offer this is the next exhibit and the small envelope within the box as well.
No objection.
Without objection, the box and its contents will be exhibit 73. And the envelope that's part of the contents will be exhibit 7310.
Sorry, if you would, same exercise as before, if you could just display the contents of exhibit 73 for the jury.
We'll do the same exercise, pointing it away from everyone. Even though there's a zip tie here, my practice is always to make sure it is. All Currently, this is empty, will not fire, cannot fire, live paper, these bandits.
You can put it back in the box. You could just, using exhibit 71, with two objects to know. You see where each long gun was recovered from.
Yes, sir.
Okay. What's the one down there?
This is this is the first weapon that we looked at. This is the second.
So I'll ask you to show the jury on television once I put this on the projector. You could stand next to it to show the jurors.
First weapon that we looked at, first rifle that we looked at, right here between the seats. Second one that I just not handled, is back here. So the same type of weapon, just a shorter barrel, shorter stock. That was a different scope one. Okay, second weapon.
All right, so the first one you indicated that the transcript is the one that's closer to the bottom left corner of the picture. The second weapon you handled is more in the center.
Yes.
Did you go to the front seat of the passenger side of the van?
Yes, sir.
Was there an item that you located there that fired?
Yes, sir.
What do you recall?
I believe there was a handgun, firearm pistol.
Okay. Ready for photograph. Recognize the photograph I placed before there.
Yes, sir.
What do you recognize as depicted in that photograph?
As far as this photograph, you can see the bottom portion of a, just by looking at this, you're seeing the bottom portion of a magazine.
Okay. And does it appear to be connected to something?
Appears to be connected to a firearm.
Okay. And the thing that is holding this, you just described, does that appear to be?
Some type
What
of
part of the seat?
the back of the back of the seat or the side. So back of the seat.
Is it a fair and accurate depiction of the way that appeared at the time you found it?
Yes, sir.
Proper, this is no objection.
Without objection, it would be exhibit 74.
You then remove that item.
Yes, sir.
What did you do with it?
Documented it as far as what it is on my worksheet, as well as the and the next would be a handgun box describing the item itself.
Now, as you're going through this, are photographs being taken in place, at the Danvers barracks before items are being taken off site?
Yes, sir.
Show you this object, show the counter. Show you an object, the box. You could look at the markings on the box as well as the interior contents. Please tell us to recognize what those are.
recognize.
Okay, how do you recognize it?
These are the initials of myself that I placed on your documentation of what is contained in the box, as well as my initials of placing tamper resistant.
If you open it, you tell if you recognize the contents.
I do.
What are those things?
These are a magazine reading device. The firearm itself, which has, again, like the others, a zip tie going through the magazine well, coming out of the chamber, making it inoperable in its present state.
And one of the bags is a little bit heavier than the other.
Yes.
Do you recognize the contents of that envelope or bag?
Yes, this is the ammunition that was removed from the device of magazine, all of which was loaded into this weapon.
Your Honor, I would offer the box as an exhibit, and each envelope within the box as A, B, or C. No objection.
Objection.
So, the box and its contents be exhibit 75, and the envelopes inside of them are exhibits 85, A, B, and C.
Transfer the envelope I'm holding in front.
This is holding the magazine reading device.
This will be 75A. The envelope I'm holding here.
This envelope is holding the ammunition that was loaded into the magazine, which was then loaded altogether into the firearm.
75B. Glass envelope.
Last envelope is a test fire that I used to test the weapon and ammunition in that firearm with no malfunction.
We'll come back to the test fire later. 75C. Again, if you could just display this for the jurors after you check it to make sure it's safe.
Tie here makes it so I'm looking at ammunition or magazine. You got up into it and then no piece of ammunition. So basically matter back.
You put it back in the box. Show you this photograph. I think you look at this photograph. Tell me if you recognize what's depicted in that photograph.
What's pictured in this photograph is this firearm with the magazine in its state of having live ammunition loaded into the magazine.
Now, it's on a yellow background. What is that yellow background?
It's just covering that table, plastic covering that table. Each item out.
All right, so what I've just handed you the photograph, very accurate depiction of the way the handgun appeared after you removed it from the vehicle and removed the magazine.
That's correct.
With the at least one round of ammunition visible at the top.
Correct.
However, this is 70. It's no objection.
No objection. I would like to be heard on this for advice.
Right. So are we marking this exhibit 76 and we're talking about something else, or should I?
Correct. I have no objection to that.
All right, so exhibit 76 is photograph.
All rise, to enter. You may be seated. We're back in session.
May proceed, please.
Continuing with the description of the front area of the van between the two seats, were there other items that you observed that you ultimately examined in more detail later on? What were some of those items?
There was more ammunition throughout, there was other firearms.
Show you this photograph. You can tell me if you recognize the contents of that photograph.
I did.
What is it?
I see a one firearm, a pistol inside of a holster, as well as at least 2 rifles.
So the seat area in that photograph should appear to be the same seat area we're looking at in the other 2 photographs we've seen so far.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So a fair and accurate depiction of how things looked at the beginning of that examination of the vehicle and the items there.
That is correct.
Let's
No objection.
no objection.
Without objection, to the exhibit 77.
What did you do with the item on top there? I'm pointing at in exhibit 77.
Separated it, took it out of the vehicle, marked it, made note of what the items are as a holster and firearm, and then placed it in the box.
Okay. Then I would ask you just to look at the box yourself quietly. Tell me if you recognize the markings on the box and the contents of the box. Are they the same ones that you collected that are also depicted in that photograph we looked at?
Yes, sir.
And with respect to this item, you see that there's a white zip tie through the actions of the pistol. Do you see that?
Yes, sir.
So it can't fire in this condition, is that right?
Correct.
And you see that there's no magazine connected to it?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, I would offer the box and contents as some exhibits and a couple other things that would mark for identification.
Okay. So the box, just so we're clear, the box and the pistol itself are the next exhibit 78.
Yes.
Everything else to be marked by identification.
The holster can be offered as an exhibit. And this can be an exhibit, and there are 2 things for identification.
Okay. Any objection? First of all, any objection?
No, you're right.
No, Your Honor.
Right. So exhibit 78 will be box and pistol. Offering the holster as a separate exhibit.
Yes, perhaps 78A.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
So exhibit 78A would be a holster
This item is what service?
Magazine, getting request.
What after that is 78B.
Okay, so the 78B will be the magazine in a boat.
And this item is what service?
Ammunition that has not been fired.
And where did it come from?
The firearm magazine.
Oh, markets for identification.
Right, so that'll be exhibit 00 for identification.
And this item is what?
Since a test fired, no longer verified, but this correct cartridges. Snap a check out.
Pertaining to this particular question.
Yes.
The markets for identification.
Exhibit PT for identification.
Good. Display the pistol itself to the jurors. So for the record, check the action. It's unloaded. You can show them the holster as well. Yeah. In the front passenger seat itself, by the glove box of that van, you recall examining that location?
I know I did go to that area as well. Yes.
Okay. And were there items that you recall observing at that location? What?
I believe there were more items in that area.
Do you recall exactly what they were?
My memory is exhausted. I'm not sure exactly which firearm. But yes, there were more items there in the area that were firearm.
The show you something. Bring this 3-page document. Look at it to yourself. Tell me if that refreshes your memory. And when you're ready, I'll ask you some questions.
Yes, I recognize this.
Having reviewed that, can you now give the jury a description of the items you observed in the front seat area by the glove box of that van?
More ammunition loaded into various multiple magazines, as well as a CD here as well, another right, and more ammunition.
We'll take this back from you. Did you examine that rifle in more detail on discovering it?
Yes, sir.
Box. Good. First, look at the markings. Container. Then if you could open the container and look at the contents. I think you recall the familiar with contents.
Yes, I'm familiar with this. These items. All these items.
Could you tell the jury what those items are without just describe what they are?
Another rifle, a semi-automatic rifle, a scope, loose ammunition, and a magazine, as well as more loose ammunition that is now in it, along with the test fire.
And is the presence of the white twist tie something that's different about this item today than when you first recovered it?
Yes, there was no white zip tie.
That's right. And the plastic zip tie, again, it's through the action in the magazine area. Does that mean the rifle is not able to fire in this condition?
That's correct.
Your Honor, I would offer the contents of the box sequentially. Box is the next exhibit, and the items that are in its AB.
No objection.
No objection.
Without objection, the box and its contents are until 79.
What I'll do is I'll just have the witness to identify each sequential thing. This item here, this white bag that came out of the box you just looked at.
The white envelope containing the magazine feeding the right pen that would work with this particular weapon.
I would offer this as 79 A. No objection.
No objection.
Without objection, the exhibit 79A, which is the plastic bag containing magazine.
Paper bag, I guess.
Sorry, it's paper. Oh, it's a paper. Let me see. So the paper bag.
This paper envelope with some jingly contents. What is that?
This is ammunition that was loaded into the magazine with this fire. With this rifle.
The one that you just looked at.
Yes, sir.
So this will be, I would offer this as 79 feet. No objection.
Okay, no, without objection, the exhibit 79B.
What's this item?
This is one piece of ammunition that was actually loaded at the time that I found it was loaded in the chamber of this fire, this rifle.
Okay. This I would offer a 79 C. Is it Charlie? No objection.
Objection. Without objection, the exhibit 79C.
This item, sir, what's it?
This is a test fire that I did take a sample of that ammunition and using it in that rifle.
Okay. And, if it's in this envelope, so I offer this envelope. It's 79 D's and Davis.
The exhibit 79D.
No objection. There's one more loose item in the box. What is this item, sir?
This is a scope that was attached to this rifle.
Currently detached.
Correct.
Is it otherwise in the same, substantially the same condition as when you first found it?
Yes, sir.
Offer this 79E is an effort.
No objection.
Without objection, the exhibit 79D.
Sir, if you could just stand up, just as we did before, just check the action area. It's not for me, it's unloaded and empty. It's just way for sure, please. So the thing that you just unfolded in the back, what is that?
This is a collapsible bus stop.
And the electronic looking item at the front on the barrel of this item is what?
It's a laser. Along with, I think, putting this about laser between one and target. And mark the target that you intend to fire on. This is a forward grip that would assist you in stabilizing the weapons.
In the condition you found it in, it's just to correct it, the grip was folded up.
I guess.
Probably put the back in once.
So I think we'll break for the lunch recess here. The jury will break for lunch. It's just about 12:35. We're going to reconvene at 1:35, so the usual 1 hour.
All right, jury exit. We'll start the first roll, followed by second roll. Please bring all your items.
Also, because of some of what's in the evidence now and what's waiting to be introduced in evidence, the courtroom is going to be closed and locked from the time that the last person leaves until 1:35. So ordinarily, I'm much more flexible about access to the courtroom when we're not in session. But I just want to let counsel know you need to take whatever you're going to need for the lunch recess with you. And there's no guarantee of re-entry until 1:35.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so you have an hour as well, so they're kind of things. Check it with her. Thank you so much.
You may be seated for the back in session.
Members of the jury, I think for the first time in this trial, we're going to take witnesses out of work. I think we've done it again in this trial. This is something that routinely happens in trials. You may not believe it, but we try our best to accommodate people's schedules and not impose unnecessarily on the client. And so sometimes the party that made the request to be allowed to testify out of order. Those requests were routinely granted. You can't obviously draw any inference of any kind that this is fall out of order. It's not, you couldn't draw inference for or against either party because it's not relevant to the issues of the case. It's just a logistical accommodation that we made for a variety of people's schedules. So with that, I think the Commonwealth intent, we're still, Sergeant Jones is still in the middle of his testimony. We're going to pause his testimony right now. Hear from one or more witnesses for the Commonwealth, and then we'll go back to Sergeant Jones. So,
Commonwealth called Jeffrey Evans to the stand.
Wrong. We start to stop right here. There's a question right here.
Sir, you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
good afternoon, sir. I don't know your rank. Lieutenant Colonel, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Lieutenant Colonel. Welcome. You may proceed.
Good afternoon. Could you say in a loud, clear voice your full name, spelling your last name for the record?
Yes, Lieutenant Colonel Jeffrey Ahern, A-H-E-R-N.
And where are you currently?
Currently, I'm at Joint Force Headquarters around Army National Guard in East Grand Rhode Island.
How long have you been in Rhode Island?
26 years.
And are you on the Army side of the Air Force?
Army side.
And as part of your role, you also signed part to the Adjournment General's Office.
Yes, the department I'm in charge of falls under the Adjutant General's Office.
What are your current roles in this one?
Currently, I'm the Deputy G1, which is the G1 that controls all the personnel administration and resources for the Army National Guard.
Can you briefly explain what is the Adjournment General's Office?
The Adjutant General's Office is a government state employee, state appointed office, and the Adjutant General primarily oversees the Army National Guard, the Air National Guard, and the historic militias, the state of Rhode Island.
Okay, so I think you answered this question, but there's three different entities that fall under the umbrella of control of the Adjutant General. Can you just slowly explain what each of those are?
The Army National Guard, which is, they're all considered component to three components to our armed forces. Component one being the regular Army and Air National, Army and Air Force. Component two is the reserve, the National Guard of each state. So under the Adjutant General's Office, you have the Army National Guard and the Air National Guard, as well as the historic militias.
Okay, and as a part of your role with the Adjutant General's Office, are you familiar with personnel records kept for the National Guard?
Yes.
Okay, and you're familiar both based on experience working with them and also have familiarized yourself with that as well, kept?
Yes.
And are they maintained in the normal course of business at the Adjutant General's Office?
Yes, we have both digital databases and paper databases.
And you testified earlier that you're in the Army National. How are these records queried or looked at?
They're looked at, we have a database in one of our locations that has all the paper records, and we have numerous databases, IPERMs, IPSA, federal level databases that are all accessed online that have scanned copies of all paperwork going back 30, 40 years.
Okay, so you described a series of acronyms, but those are all databases that contain personnel records related to active or previous personnel records of people potential guard.
Yes, active, retired, also contain discharge records, medical records.
And on the Air National Guard side, do they maintain the records in the same way?
Yes, they do.
And you're familiar with those records?
Yes.
At some point, we reached out to my office to inquire if a series of individuals were in fact members of the Rhode Island National Guard, whether it be Army or Air.
Yes.
And we reached out to a little while ago, but as recently as last week, we provided a list of names and date of births for a both of the databases, one for the Army side, one for the Air side.
Yes.
Lieutenant Colonel, I'm showing you a document. Just take a look at that. Do you recognize that?
Yes, I do.
Okay, is that a fair and accurate copy of the list that's provided to you?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, Your Honor, I just at this time mark this for identification. I believe we're on RR. Oh, are you on QQ?
QQ.
Okay, sorry.
It'll be QQ for identification.
So, Lieutenant Colonel, before I ask you any questions about those names, first of all, did you cause a query to be made of those names, both on the Army National Guard personnel as well as the Air National Guard?
Yes, I did.
And how was that query conducted from your own personal experience in the Army?
So we ran the our unit commander report. We ran all the names through the report with the dates of birth to see if there are any of these names currently were serving in the Army National Guard, and we came up with nothing. And then we also went through our IPERMs, which is our historical database, as I mentioned earlier, going back 40 years, and there were no evidence that any of these names being ever a member of the Army National Guard.
Okay, and did you cause a query to be made also on the Air National Guard side?
Yes, I contacted my counterpart on the Air National Guard side. He reviewed all records of the 1,009 members of the Air National Guard who are now serving He didn't find anything either.
Okay, and did he provide those further results to you?
Yes.
Do you have a chance to review those?
Yes.
Prior to testifying today? Okay, and those are records that are kept along, of course, the Adjutant General's office.
Yes.
Okay, so I will try to move quickly, but I'm just gonna ask you about a series of names, whether there was any quarry on the Army or Air National Guard side. So starting with the name Jamal Devon Sanders Latimer, date of birth 4/17/92. Were there any results?
No.
How about Jamal Talib Abdullah Bey, date of birth 4/17/92?
No.
Quinn Cumberlander, date of birth 4/15/80.
No.
Quinn Kabir L, date of birth 4/15/80.
No.
Aaron Lamont Johnson, date of birth 5/29/92.
No.
Talib Sharif Bey, date of birth 5/29/92.
No.
Aaron J. Jimenez, date of birth 4/12/94.
No.
Aban El Kara, date of birth 4/12/94.
No.
Lamar Dow, date of birth 8/24/86.
No.
Jamel Lamar Dow, date of birth 8/24/86.
No.
Jamil Rasul Bey, date of birth 8/24/86.
No.
Stephen Anthony Perez, date of birth 5/7/94.
No.
Lucia L. Por Libertad, date of birth 5/7/94.
No.
Como Pierre, date of birth 12/29/94.
No.
Omar Malik Antonio, date of birth 8/3/85.
No.
Robert Blaney Rodriguez, date of birth 9/22/99.
No.
Robert L. Don, date of birth 9/22/99.
No.
Wilfredo Hernandez Jr., date of birth 8/19/97.
No.
Bill L. Medusa, date of birth 8/19/97.
No.
Brandon Britton, date of birth 7/12/03, 2003.
No.
Messiah Bay, date of birth 7/12/2000.
No.
Okay, to wrap up, because I asked you series and you just kept answering no. All of the names and date of births I just relayed to you, you ensured that queries were conducted and no results came back.
Numerous times, yes, no result.
Okay. So now I'd like to ask you about the third aspect of what falls under the Adjutant General's office. I think you described them as the so-called historic militias. Can you just explain generally what these historic militias' major functions and purposes are?
Yes, the historic militias, there are currently 12 recognized historic militias in Rhode Island that fall under the Adjutant General. Their main purpose is to preserve and promote the history and heritage of Rhode Island's military history, going all the way back to King Philip's War, through the Revolution, Civil War, until the present day.
And so what sort of things do these historic militias do?
They do reenactments, they do school programs, they participate in Memorial Day, Veterans Day parades, do things like that, like history events, just to promote the education of Rhode Island's history.
So to make a comparison to Massachusetts, is a function similar to, say, the Minutemen of Lexington and Concord?
Yes.
And are the members considered military personnel or civilians?
Civilians.
So as civilians, in, let's just say the last 100 years, have they been issued firearms from the Adjutant General's office or the state and federal government?
No.
As civilians, are they subject to any special military privileges regarding the use of firearms?
No.
Any special privileges or, I guess, are they issued any vehicles first?
Objection.
Basis.
Leading at this point. Overruled.
No, they travel to from other locations, but that's their own personal, their own vehicles.
Okay, do they have any special military privileges regarding vehicle registration or licenses to drive?
No.
Now, historically, these militias in the past have been activated by the governor of Rhode Island for military duty. Is that fair?
Yes.
And when they're activated, the Adjutant General's office sort of becomes the person in command of those groups, right?
Yes.
Have any Rhode Island historical militias been activated or ordered to appear to the Adjutant General to perform military training exercises or engage in military combat?
The last time Rhode Island militias were activated for federal service for combat was the American Civil War.
Okay. And so, just to make it clear, the Adjutant General maintained records of when historical militias have been sort of activated for actual military combat or military exercise.
Yeah.
And we were able to review those records and documents at the Adjutant General's office of sources to determine whether any such activation was.
Yeah.
And is there a list of these active historic militias maintained in multiple business at the Adjutant General's office?
Yeah.
Were you also asked to check if a query could be made on whether any of those active historic militias contain certain names or identifying markers?
Yes.
In particular, were you asked to run a query as to whether the word Moor, M-O-O-R, Moors, M-O-O-S, or anything related to a variation of Moorish or Moor was contained in the names of those historic monuments?
Yes.
May we be heard at the sidebar?
You may. Showing you a document. Do you recognize that?
Yes.
Okay, what is it?
It's the list of Rhode Island historical command militias recognized by the Adjutant General's office.
Your Honor, and can you just review it and make sure it's a very accurate copy of that? Yeah, this time I just marked this for identification.
May, it will be RR for identification.
So, Lieutenant Colonel, can you just read what the names of the 12 historic militias are?
Yes. The Artillery Company of Newport, 1741. Kentish Guards, East Greenwich, Rhode Island, 1774. SOVCIT Rangers, Warwick, Rhode Island, 1774. Gloucester Light Infantry, Chepachet, Rhode Island, 1774. Barnes Regiment, East Greenwich, Rhode Island, 1775. United Train of Artillery, 1775. Kingston Red, 1775. Bristol Train of Artillery, Bristol, Rhode Island, 1776. The Warren Federal Blues, Warren, Rhode Island, 1798. Battery 8, First Rhode Island Light Artillery, Providence, Rhode Island, 1861. Second Rhode Island Regiment, the Continental Line. Rhode Island Regiment, ordered by Everett, Massachusetts.
Oh, that's part red. We go back to that last one just for a moment. Everett, Massachusetts.
That's the president of the militia.
So that's already the president of that militia.
Yes.
That's not in the name,
No.
just to clarify.
Yeah.
Okay. So you've also had an opportunity to review the sort of flags and regalia associated with those historic militias, do any of them have or utilize the Moroccan flag?
Good basis.
Again, relevancy beyond scope.
Overruled. You may ask.
No. You want to step a little bit?
May.
No further questions.
Ross, thank you.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Would it be appropriate in common parlance for me to address you as Colonel, even though you're a Lieutenant Colonel?
Yes.
So you're in service with the Rhode Island National Guard, is that correct?
Yes.
Now, is it fair to say that the United States Army can be broken up between the active duty, the reserves, and the National Guard, correct?
Yes, the three components. Component one would be the active duty, say the Marine, the Navy, and the National Guard. The component two and reserves.
And there's also an individual range reserve that's available when somebody use the Army, is that correct?
Yes.
Now, am I correct when I say that most, if not every state, has an Army National Guard component, correct?
Yes.
And so you're not part of the, you're not currently part of the active duty. And you're not in the reserves.
No. APR is called active guard reserve, so we're on active duty for the National Guard. Each state has a certain number of APR soldiers on the Army and Air side that are sent.
Is it fair to say that most of the time when somebody thinks of the National Guard, they think of somebody who serves 1 weekend a month?
Yes.
But you're a full-time employee, you're not just on weekends, correct? Now, backing up further from the Army, we now have 6 branches of our military, is that correct?
Yes.
We've got the Air Force.
Yes.
We've got the Army.
Yes.
We've got the Marine Corps.
Yes.
We've got the Navy.
Yes.
We've got the Coast Guard.
Yes.
And we've got the Space Force.
Yes.
Now, the duty of each branch is to train, equip, and prepare those servicemen and women for war, is that correct?
Yes.
And is it also true that once deployed overseas as a work, those servicemen would take orders from a combatant commander, is that correct? Now, broadly speaking, the United States military has combatant commands that essentially oversee a different section of the plan.
Yes.
And there's also a specialized command just for transportation, correct?
That's Congress.
And there's one for our nuclear weapons, correct?
Yes.
I'm objecting to the second.
Basis.
Relevance?
You're gonna allow a certain amount of leeway, that's all overruled.
But those combatant commands, that's when the troops get orders to go do their jobs, correct?
Yes.
But the branches are there to prepare, equip, and train.
Yes.
Correct. So when you were asked to run your queries, that was just for the Rhode Island Army and Air National Guard, correct?
Yes.
Your Air National Guard contemporary, he or she ran those same queries just for the Air Force side, correct?
Yes.
Sorry, yeah, the Air National Guard side.
Yes.
So at no point did you run any queries or anything to do with the active duty Marine Corps?
No.
And nothing for Marine Corps reserves?
No.
There's no Marine Corps National Guard?
Now just the reserves, it's closest to dead Massachusetts.
I have no further questions. Thank you.
Seriously, Conor?
Nothing.
Redirect.
No, thank you.
Colonel, thank you very much. That concludes your testimony. You're excused. Next witness, Conor.
We will resume the testimony of Sergeant Jones.
Sergeant Jones can resume the stand. Welcome back. So I may proceed. Thank you, Your what I'd like to do now is talk about the truck. There's also identities
That was towed from Interstate 95. You recall the truck we're talking about?
The pickup truck?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Did you go through that as well?
I did.
Starting with the front seat area, were there items that drew your attention to the front seat area on the pickup truck?
I believe there was a handgun.
Do you remember anything more about the items in the truck as well?
There was more ammunition in that truck as well.
I'm going to show you a photograph. Showing you this photograph. You can take a moment and look at that for yourself. Tell me if you recognize the items in it.
I do.
First of all, do you recognize the overall vehicle or thing that this photograph is taken of?
Yes.
What is it?
I see what we call magazine pouch that carry two magazines.
Right. But what are we looking into? Do you recognize the vehicle we're looking into?
The backseat area of the Conor.
That's the truck, okay. And so there are items in there that you recognize. Have you seen them before today?
Yes, sir.
Are these fair and accurate depictions of the way they appeared to you at the Danvers Barracks on July 3rd? I would offer this as the next exhibit.
No objection.
Excellent. Without objection, it would be exhibit 80.
Yes.
Some of the things, you describe some of the things that you can see in that photograph, and then I'll put it on the projector.
See a rifle on the floor, a radio on top of the seat. And along with a slim close around rifle.
We're going to now show you this photograph. You recognize the things in that photograph.
Like this.
And does this view basically appear to be the other side of the same pickup truck?
Yes, opposite side.
Okay. Is that how it appeared on July 3rd, 2021?
Yes.
And there's a seat in the photograph over here. There's all this open space here. Is the seat flipped up?
It is.
No, this is the next.
No objection.
No objection. Without objection, it will be exhibit 81.
So if you could, support provisions, stand by the screen. And I'm going to put exhibit 81 on the projector and ask you to describe some of the things visible there. Like to zoom in. So, like you described, these items and this round item over here.
Rifle, west side here, what we call here is another firearm.
Okay.
This is a magazine that I did take from out of the vehicle as well.
Okay. Yes. Okay. So the items you've described in the photographs on the floor of the back seat of the Honda, did you collect those items?
I did.
Show you an item. Good. Look at the box, then look at the contents and tell me if between the contents and the markings you recognize the contents. Good. Okay. What do you recognize the contents of this box to be?
Rifle along with the type of ammunition that it used with the rifle.
Okay. This rifle here in this box, is it in essentially similar condition to how you saw it on July 3rd, 2021?
Sounds like this, sir.
Okay. There's a white zip tie through the action of the rifle. Is that different?
It's different because it was not there on that day.
Right. So it put on since then.
Yes,
Apart from that, is it otherwise in the same condition?
it is.
There's see some whitish color on that. You recognize that?
Yes.
Okay. Is that different than when you first saw it?
Yes.
Do you know from your training and experience the reason for that?
There's printing dust.
I would offer the box as the next exhibit and the small envelope within the box. That's the next sequential exhibit after that.
Objection.
Without objection, the box and contents made to the 82 and envelopes
82A.
82A.
Again, 82A is what?
So it's a discharge cartridge piece. Test fire.
For you to testify.
Yes.
Would be 82A.
Sergeant, I'm going to hold the box over here. If you could pick this up, confirm for me that the action is open and it's unloaded. And just display this for the jury.
It's open, both open.
Now there's a thing on top of that rifle and there's a thing on the bottom toward the front that could describe to the juror what that those items are.
On top of it is a long range scope. Front is a 5.5, which would flip it down so you can rest it on a bench or rest on the ground or those are we rest them on a backpack capability. Function as a with long distance shooting.
Right. Okay. You could put it back in. So you now have this other box. This. That's right. You can just stand up, look inside the box, tell me if you recognize the contents. Well, the exterior markings of the box. Okay. Next. The where did you first see these items?
The rear seat area of the rear truck.
Apart from the white zip tie that's through the middle of the weapon in there, is it in the same condition as when you first recovered it?
Yes, sir.
Whatever box is the next exhibit operative content sequence.
No objection.
Without objection, it'll be marked exhibit 83.
So 83, handing you small envelope which came out of the larger box, which is now exhibit 83. You know what that envelope contains?
Yes, this is a magazine treating device. That this is particular.
Whatever, this is 83, and it's out. Would be 83.
No objection.
This envelope containing contents, you know what that is?
Yes, this is a live ammunition that was taken out of one of the magazines.
You could look at the markings on exhibit 83A.
This is the ammunition that was removed from that particular magazine.
But off of the bag of ammunition, 83B is the one.
Objection.
Okay.
Objection to 83B.
Hand you another envelope. Can you identify the contents of the envelope?
This is the second magazine. That would also fit this particular compartment.
Whatever this is, C is in Charlie.
No objection.
Okay, exhibit 83C, I'm sorry, it's like, that's, no,
It's a second magazine.
second magazine.
Looking at the markings at 83C, this other envelope I've given you, can you identify the contents of the other envelope?
This is the ammunition that was removed from this kind.
I would offer the ammunition. 83, thieves and the
I assume, no objection to
No objection.
No objection.
last envelope that came out of the box that is 83. Did you identify the contents based on the markings?
Yes, that's our sample is from this group of population. That's part of this weapon.
This is the next exhibit. 83E is an Edward, I think.
No objection.
That objection would be exhibit 83E.
Sergeant, if you could, well, just check it and confirm for me that it's unloaded and that the white zip tie is in place for the action of the record be displayed out to the jurors, please. Describe what that is.
Like a little closer so they can actually see what this one is. Point it as well,
Yes.
because it's actually something.
So what is the back part of the weapon? Race.
What this is a micro conversion kit that you look here, this is a pistol. So pistol that fits inside of this kit, which stabilizes it to the point where it's almost, if you think of a short barrel rifle, this is not, but it's a kit that fits a Glock pistol inside of it.
And what is the thing on top? So you can return that to the box. I believe there's one other object in the box.
This is a sling.
Okay, just a fabric sling for that.
Yes.
That's the items in the photograph I handed you.
Yes, sir.
What are they?
These are the items that once I showed everyone was the completed version, this is the pistol that is separated from the micro conversion kit.
Okay. And here an accurate depiction of those items as you saw them when you examined them at the lab?
Yes, sir.
This is the next example.
No objection.
Maybe 83 episode Frank. That's it. It's the same.
It pertains to the same weapon as exhibit is now within the box where it's the 83. Yes. All right. It'll be 83 now.
But published exhibit 83 F for the jurors. Let me move your attention now to the front of the hospital. You recall observing any items that drew your attention in that area of the hospital? Do you recall observing items of interest to you in the front of the Honda when you examined it?
In the front area of the Honda.
The pickup truck.
Pickup truck?
Yes.
I believe there was more firearms in that area as well.
Recognize the items depicted in the photograph I just handed you.
Yes, sir.
What are they?
Several loaded magazines with ammunition, and there's a long gun or shotgun in between the seat.
Is that shotgun one of the items you collected?
Yes, sir.
It's a fair and accurate depiction of the way you observe these things at Danvers, July 3rd, 2020.
That's correct.
No objection.
No objection.
Objection of the marketability for. Can you see on the screen, sir?
Yes, sir.
Can you? What are the two items down here?
I loaded magazines with ammunition, live ammunition within them.
What's this thing?
That is what I described as the shotgun that was between the seats on closest to the passenger side, the barrel facing down.
Good. Step over here. Just look into the box. Tell me if you, first of all, recognize the markings on the box and its contents.
I do recognize these items.
Okay. Are they, apart from the white zip tie through the chamber of the shotgun, is it in the same condition today as it was when you covered it on July 3rd, 2021? Yeah.
It's the exact same.
Your Honor, I would offer the contents of the box as the next exhibit.
Objection.
No objection. An objection to exhibit 85. And I'm going to hand you, Sergeant, a couple items from within the box. Handing you this envelope, and you identify it based on the mark.
Yes.
What is it?
This is the live shotgun shell, or ammunition that would go to a shotgun. This is the one that was recovered from the chamber. It was ready to be used.
So it was chambered.
Yes, sir.
I would offer this as 85A as now.
No objection.
Would be to the 85A. So. You identify the contents of this envelope and just took out exhibit 85.
That's live ammunition that was loaded into the rifle of the shotgun here.
Okay. And these were recovered by you?
Yes, sir.
In a shotgun, I believe earlier you described it as having something called a tubular magazine.
Yes.
Where were these in relation to the tubular magazine? Were these in it?
I believe they were in it.
Offer this to the next exhibit.
It's a mixed exhibit or 85B?
85B is important.
Objection. No, Your Honor.
This thing that I've just handed you, another envelope that came out of exhibit 85.
This is a test fire that I did use a sample of the ammunition here with the I think I'm correcting myself. This is a piece of ammunition that I did use to test fire the shotgun.
Okay. What was the source of that ammunition?
This was from our mandatory section.
Is it the right ammunition for that type of shotgun, that caliber shotgun?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is there a reason you used that type of ammunition provided by the state police as opposed to one of the rounds that came with the shotgun itself?
I believe that this here piece of ammunition, the buckshot, which is safer to use than what we call a snail system for catching buckshot or rifle rounds. The ammunition here, I believe it was slugs. So like using a slug indoors like that, you're taking with us higher risk of it bouncing around and possibly coming back at you.
Understood. I would offer the test fire envelope as
85C.
No objection.
Objection to the exhibit 85C.
And, I'll ask you to just display this for the jurors as well. And I have a couple questions about the component pieces of it. Just for the record, confirm to me that it's empty and unloaded and safe.
This is safe to handle.
Okay. And so what are the pieces of that shotgun component parts? I know you described them sort of generally earlier.
Let's start.
Yep.
Grip, trigger, safety switch,
What's the thing on top?
scope. This is the tubular area here where the shot shells are kept. This is pretty much like I'd call it like a charging handle as well in this situation where you pull it back one time, a live piece of ammunition would load up into the chamber area. It would be charged once this goes forward. When you squeeze the trigger on this particular style shotgun, it would shoot one shot shell, but it would actually act as a it's semi-automatic. So when I say semi-automatic with the shotgun as well, it takes a portion of the energy from the first shot that is ejected. It automatically loads another round, whereas the pump action you would have to pump it and a pump action to make it go. So this is a semi-automatic shotgun.
Okay, you can put it back in the box. Also examine the conduct, looking for things like magazines, ammunition, things like that.
Yes, sir.
And did you collect a series of items?
Quite a bit of ammunition. Some in magazines, some in clear bags, some in the manufacturer's boxes.
They show you a box of items. Look at the markings in the box. Tell me if you recognize them.
I do.
Okay. And looking inside of the contents, you recognize the contents.
I do.
In particular, this item that I'm holding, you recognize this thing?
I do.
Did we see that in the photograph earlier of the back seat? I can show it to you again.
Can you show that?
Sure. Let me show you exhibit. I'll put exhibit 81. You can look at the screen. You see the thing in the top right area, part of the back seat?
I do. I recall that.
Okay. So, what is the thing I just handed to you?
This is a drum style magazine that will hold 50 live 40 caliber targets. So
Okay, and what did you do with it upon recovering it from dampers? How did you inspect it at the lab?
I inspected it by unloading it and loading the exact number that I came up with that is designed to carry live cartridges.
And apart from unloading and reloading, it's the same condition today as it was back then?
Exactly.
But after this is the next exhibit.
No objection.
Without objection, we 86.
And then you three curved items. Just those to yourself. Tell me if you recognize what those are.
Yes, I recognize these items as loaded magazine with ammunition in them as well.
And did you have to do anything with them when you brought them to the lab?
Unload them and load them to see what the number of the actual number of ammunition that fit. And fully loaded magazine each one.
There are markings, small markings on the side listing some new ones. Do you see that?
Yes, sir.
What do those, you know?
The caliber 5.56, 545.
Are they in the same condition today as they were when you recovered them, but for the fact that you unloaded them?
Yes.
Right, these should. You have an EOC.
Objection.
No objection.
87 idiots. I think the 86 exhibits 86, 87, A through C.
Be clear, the drum magazine, that is the 86, you unloaded and reloaded it, that's the condition as that.
Yes, sir.
Same thing with the three magazines, just like that.
That's correct.
The remaining items in the box are what? You can just describe them for the
Ammunition in a white clear bag. One magazine with ammunition in it, and a larger magazine with larger caliber. Moving of ammunition loaded as well.
and did all these things come out of the Honda?
Yes.
Tell me if you recognize what we're viewing in this photograph, what you see in that photograph.
We magazines loaded with ammunition in a center console.
Okay. Is that the way they appeared when you recovered them from the Honda?
Yes.
They're an accurate depiction of them?
Yes, sir.
About that it says. The 3 magazines are 87 APs. Photograph on offer is 87 Ds.
No objection.
Without objection, to the exhibit 87D.
Well, I published that. You can look at this next photograph yourself. You recognize that item?
I do.
Okay. Just show.
Yes, sir.
We're looking at this photograph.
The ammunition that was just in the box, in a clear bag, loose ammunition. At that point, did not have a considerable amount of ammunition around clear bag.
Okay. And the clear bag is inside what kind of container?
It's inside of a paper bag.
Is that the way you found it inside the Honda?
Yes, sir.
No objection.
88.
Exhibit 88.
What are the contents of the photograph?
The items that we just went over, the clear bag with the ammunition in it, the rifle, the cylinder, the drum magazine, more ammunition. That was some box, some loose rounds, as well as the micro conversion kit with the pistol attached to it. There's also more magazines and a magazine pouch.
And these were all set out on a table at the end of the fair, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Well, this is the next exhibit.
No objection.
89.
Without objection, exhibit 89.
Remaining ammunition in the box, let's look at a minute ago. Perhaps coming out of a Honda pickup truck. Is that all given an item number by the state police?
Yes, sir.
What's the item number?
2-21.
And apart from some of these things being in plastic, being in now in paper bags, paper envelopes, so they otherwise in the same condition as they were when you recovered.
They are, sir.
They cover the box.
No objection.
Without objection, exhibit 90.
I would exhibit 90 is marked. Sergeant, if you would be good enough just to display those items for the jury one at a time, so they can get a look at them. smaller boxes?
Boxes right here.
Yes.
These are boxes of ammunition. I know bigger in this one, 308 in this one, which would be the larger caliber for the rifle. Magazine with 308 caliber ammunition inside of it.
But the same caliber as the bolt action rifle you've already shown the jury?
Yes, sir.
Please continue.
More boxes of 5.56 ammunition fitting into what normally would be like an AR-15 style weapon. These were loose rounds that were about, I just packaged them to make it even better. So a box of 20, 5.56, 545 millimeter ammunition, and one magazine with ammunition as well, 22 caliber.
Both the boxes off. Take it back. You tell me if you recognize the contents. First of all, box, the part based on the markings.
I do recognize that.
What are they?
Magazines that are fully loaded with various calibers, and there's another box of 308 caliber ammunition as well.
From the markings, can you tell what vehicle it came out of? Okay. And was there any one single place where all the magazines were located, or could you describe how you came by these? The best you can.
Not 100% of my memory is exhausted.
I can just have a moment.
Make sure you have right.
You tell us if you recognize what's depicted in that first photograph of three that are stated together.
Objection.
Basis.
Personal knowledge. Based on the last response.
Since you indicated your memory was exhausted at the location of the magazines, what I'd like you to do is look at this to yourself, page through it, take as much time as you'd like. Tell us if that refreshes your memory as to where some of those magazines were recovered from. Yes, sir. It does. We take that back from you. So, where were some of the magazines recovered from?
From the glove box area of the airport, as well as the shot shells were one of the three issues.
Now the van, is this something you also went through yourself, just like you went through the Honda at the damage barracks?
Yes, sir.
Were you there when they were taking the photographs of it?
Yes, sir.
Do you recognize the three photographs that placed before you? Which are stated together.
I do.
What are the things depicted in them?
The first one was the magazines that are loaded with ammunition. There's a rifle leaning up against a seat facing down. There's ammunition seat to include various calibers. There's a rifle buttstock in the photo as well. I think it was the previous items laid out on the table for pricing photos.
On that same yellow background?
Yes, sir.
Was each photograph a fair and accurate depiction of its contents?
Yes.
What offer these things?
No objection. Okay, we'll mark those exhibit 91, exhibits 91A through C. Photos from the van.
Yes, photos from the front, the van, front seat, and items on the table. Put up exhibit 91 on the projector. Sergeant, do you see exhibit 91 on the projector?
I do.
So what are the items in the glove box there?
As I explained, there are fully loaded magazines that are in the storage compartment there, along with just to the left side of the photo, you can see a rifle with the scope on it as well.
91A. See that?
Yes, sir.
What are those items?
Various caliber ammunition, as well as shotgun ammunition, as well as the buttstock of the buttstock. You can see a buttstock.
91B on the projector. You see that?
Yes, sir.
Is that all those same items now laid out for photography?
That's correct.
As you're going through the van, you also move into the middle and rear parts of the van where there were second row seats and so on.
Yes, sir.
You recall whether or not you also looked under the seats?
Yes.
Showing you this photograph. Recognize the item in that photograph. in particular thing.
Oh, yes, I see what you're talking about. Yes.
What is that?
Uh, Type of nylon material,
In the white object in the center. Photograph. You see that?
it's like a white shiny.
And you recall covering that trash bin? Everything was removed from the video. Is this a fair and accurate depiction of the items under the second row seats of the van?
Not the far other side, yes.
Oh, this is the next thing.
No objection.
That objection will be exhibit 92.
And items removed from that white bag,
Yes, sir.
were they collected?
Yes, sir.
Showing the photograph. Right, that's what those are.
Yes, sir.
Right.
They are magazines with ammunition loaded within them as well. So magazines. So,
You recall recovering those from the van?
yes, sir.
You recall as you sit here today, where in the van they came from?
They were in the second row area under the seat.
Off of this.
No objection. That objection be exhibit 93.
Thing exhibit on the projector. Hey, can you also make out, Sergeant, the thing I'm pointing at on the magazine? Can you see that?
Clear window.
And what are the items visible there?
I have ammunition that's
The box that's sitting next to you. Change one.
These magazines that were collected, fully loaded.
And I think you said it earlier, I'm going to ask you again. Do you recall what vehicle these came out of? I'm walking off of the box.
No objection.
Exhibit 94.
Sergeant, if you could display some of the items to the jurors, and if you could give us an idea of how many magazines are contained in that box. Yes.
Are 20 magazines in here fully loaded with ammunition. It's the window that assists you with keeping count of how many pieces of ammunition in here. As it goes down, you can see the number count. You can't see it from that far, but it tells you exactly how many number of ammunition.
What calibers of ammunition do you see being fitted to those magazines or loaded to those magazines?
5.56. A 7.62 by 5.1. There's another box in here with .308 caliber as well.
The magazines, do they have markers denoting the capacity of the magazine?
Some do. The ones with the clear windows on it, they do. The other ones that are curved, they don't tell you. You would have to take everything out by hand, put it back in to count it yourself. Same with things like the window, but you'd have to take it all out.
Okay. The state police item number for these hospitals now to the war.
2-22.
We were talking about items that were recovered from the van earlier. Recognize this black object contained in the box that is put before you.
Yes, I do.
What is it?
It is a drum style magazine that holds, I counted it and wrote it as 65 live cartridges of 223 or 5.56, which is the type of ammunition that would go into the AR style. Right.
Okay. So to test it, you actually unloaded the cartridges, reloaded the back end?
Yes.
Apart from doing that, is it the same condition today as it was when you found it?
It is.
What about for the drum or box style magazine next to it?
No objection.
Rinse the code, any objection?
I may have missed it, but the location of where this came from, that
Sure. What's your recollection of where this came from?
objection.
Not objection will be to the 95.
Remaining items within this box that I played before you were what?
Live ammunition, shot shells that have slug capability, a slug instead of buckshot. We also have 2-3 ammunition and the manufacturer's boxes, as well as a manufacturer's box that has more shot shells in them for shotgun.
Was that box, when all that ammunition was collected, was it signed a state police item number when it reached the lab?
I guess so.
What's the item number?
2-23.
And you described going throughout the van earlier. Could you describe for the jury the locations where some of these items of ammunition contained in the box were recovered from the van?
Good portion of the back part of it.
As part of your search of the van, were there any bags that you went through? Do you recall looking at any green recreational bags or rec bags?
There was some there, yes.
Do you recall examining them?
Examining as far as just looking inside and seeing what was in there.
Yes.
Yes, ignition.
And I'm going to show you photographs. I'm going to show the account first. Look, photographs. Recognize what those items are?
Yes.
Start with the one on your left hand. What's the one on your left hand?
That's like a hard cover bag with ammunition and magazine pouches that are visible, along with some other clothing items as well.
Okay. Looking in the large box before you, do you see any of the items in the box that are depicted in that photo?
Yes, sir. See the main item here is the manufactured box of shot shells.
I would offer this photo, first of all, it's a fair and accurate depiction of the way that things appeared when you saw them.
Yes, sir.
I would offer this as the next exhibit. Objection.
Objection.
That objection will be exhibit 96.
Photograph of your right hand. What is that?
Bring bag with greenish canvas bag style with the ammunition 223 caliber and the manufactured boxes on the side of the bag.
Looking in the box that I placed before you, do you observe any of the items in the photograph that are also in the box?
Yes, sir. The 223 boxes within the manufactured boxes over here.
Okay. Is that photograph a fair and accurate depiction of those items in the green bag found?
Yes.
No
objection. That objection will be exhibit. Excuse me, exhibit 97.
Publishing exhibit 96. Exhibit 97. Looking at the some of the items in 91A. Tell if any of the items in exhibit 91A you're here in the box.
Yes, sir.
Which thing in particular?
The shotgun carrier with shot shells loaded up.
Your Honor, I'm all off the box.
No objection.
Objection.
Just to be clear, when it's box and its contents. So you don't have to say that, just it's the box and the contents.
Yes, the box and the contents.
No, I just don't avoid any confusion.
And Trooper, the state police item number for this particular box.
2-23.
So, yeah, you could display the jurors some of the items in exhibit 98 best you can. Yeah, the large items removed from exhibit 98.
This is the 12 gauge shotgun manufactured box. If you open it, it's completely full, 100 rounds. Different carriers for shot shells, shotgun shells, 12 gauge slugs, and regular shot shells. Manufactured boxes with 2-3 caliber ammunition for an AR style weapon. I'm in there ammunition. Into this magazine. Shot shells. I'm in there. That's manufactured boxes.
I'd like to do now, sorry, is talk about the test firing and the information you learned about each weapon when you brought it to the lab. Okay. So each of these items you recovered, you transported to the lab, is that correct?
That's correct.
And starting with the CZ pistol, exhibit 75, for the record. Did you do something with it?
Oh, yes, sir.
And do you have committed to memory all the information about the caliber and all the information, serial number you learned about this weapon when you did your testing?
Committed to memory now.
If you documented as you went along and generated a form report that contained that information?
I did.
With that pistol, did you attempt to determine, first of all, the length of the barrel?
I did.
Do you recall exactly how long the barrel was when you measured?
4 inches.
And to be considered a firearm, what does it have to be measured?
That's been 16 inches for the barrel.
And then did you do anything to determine whether or not it was optimal to fire a shot?
Yes, I took a sample piece of ammunition here, loaded it into the magazine that was provided with this weapon. I took it into our shooting room, loading one piece of ammunition, the magazine, loading it into the magazine well of the firearm, pointing it into the water tank, squeezing the trigger one time, and it did expel one piece of live ammunition into the water tank, and it did discharge the now discharge cartridge casing to what we call the brass catcher, which is just a net, so you don't have to go all over, just catch the cemented net.
Okay. So based on your training experience, did you form an opinion as to what property, what that item you tested was?
Yes.
What's that?
It did function as manufactured design as a firearm. And the ammunition did, fire as it's manufactured designed as well.
Because it fired, because I didn't date you that it had the properties being a projectile, a cartridge, a primer, and a propellant.
Yes, sir, it did function as ammunition. I know the same in my certification testing.
Right, maybe we could heard sidebar. Sergeant, as part of your processing of these items, examination of these items, you generate a report of examination and test firing in December of 2021, which documented all your work with these items.
I did.
And at the time you documented, with the information fresh in your mind, did you do your best to document it accurately and truthfully in your report?
I did.
Handing you a copy of the report of examination. Just keep that with you. So we talked about the CZ pistol that's in front of you, correct?
Yes, sir.
It's considered 75 pistol. Yes. I believe that's 75. I'll take that back.
75.
Yeah. What is the next item you documented during your examination?
The next item is listed as item 2-2, a magazine.
Okay. And was that the magazine that came with the pistol you just looked at, exhibit 75?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And did you determine whether or not that magazine had ammunition in it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. How'd you do that?
The ammunition count.
How did you do it?
Loading one piece of ammunition until the spring and the stopper went all the way to the bottom. And I did come up with a count at that point.
Okay. And what did you document for an ammunition count?
10 live cartridges capacity.
And how many cartridges were actually associated with that magazine?
Exactly 10.
And did you examine those cartridges and those items to determine whether they had the properties of ammunition?
Yes, sir.
And what was your opinion based on your examination?
I listed them and I documented them as, in my opinion, the evidence is ammunition.
All right. You also examined the a 22 caliber Glock model 44.
Yes, sir.
Eventually.
Let's speak to council or something.
Before we move off that, the CZ pistol, so CZ pistol and all in the, just so we have a good record on the transcript. The pistol is item, well, staple is item, okay? And the results of your test fire are 2-1.1?
2-2.
2-2.
2.
Okay.
2-2.1.1.
Then we have the magazine for this weapon, which is item 2-2.
Yes.
And the ammunition from that magazine is item 2-2.1.
Yes.
Okay. You also examined another weapon submitted by the state police that you didn't personally recover yourself. Is that right? Yes. Let me show you this box. You can look at its contents and tell me if you recognize, based on the markings, the item numbers, and so on. Just start, if you could, the exhibit number that we're looking at. This is currently BB for identification. At this point, it's just a box. Okay. You recognize those things?
Yes, sir.
Okay. How do you recognize them?
This is my handwriting. Describing each item. The magazine, second magazine, like 25 live pieces of ammunition, 9mm caliber, and a testified piece of ammunition, firearms.
Okay. And this one wasn't recovered by you, but it came as part of the case. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. And apart from being in bags and being sort of separated out into different components, it's the same condition today as it was when you received it and examined it.
Yes.
I would offer the box with the weapon. Just another exhibit.
Objection.
The exhibit 99. So BB for identification is now exhibit 99. You see what I just handed you? So what's that?
Containing magazine, reading device.
Would offer this is item 2-6.
Correct.
And the pistol we just looked at is item 2-5. I would offer the magazine. Exhibit 99A. It's that.
No objection.
No objection. Without objection, the magazine is in this exhibit 99A.
What if I just handed you?
Going to vote with one magazine.
And that's state police item 2-7.
Correct.
It was submitted along with this firearm.
So,
However, this is the next exhibit. 99 D is in point.
No objection.
Without objection, it's exhibit 99B.
This envelope with some contents. What's that?
25 live 9mm Luger caliber ammunition.
And so state police item 2-8.
Correct.
That was submitted with this firearm.
Yes, sir.
Was it in one of the magazines?
It was.
Property ammunition 99 season Charlie.
No objection.
Without objection, ammunition. Exhibit 99C.
What's the small envelope?
The small envelope here is a test fire that I did use this ammunition and this firearm.
And state police item 2-8.1. See that?
Yes, sir.
But offer that is 99 D is in David.
No objection.
Without objection, it's exhibit 99D.
Someone can you please display to the jurors exhibit 99 and confirm for me it's unloaded and it's been made safe. And you can see the white plastic zip tie through the action.
Yes, sir.
And return that to the box.
Step by step. Step by step.
Now, according to your report, what did you do with the fire or the pistol I just handed you that's now exhibit 99?
How did I test it? Or
Yeah, what did you do to test it?
I used one piece of live ammunition that was submitted with this item. I loaded that one piece of ammunition into the submitted magazine. I then put the magazine into the firearm, loaded the firearm. I took it into our firing room, pointed the weapon into our water tank, squeezed the trigger, and one piece of ammunition was now spent, projectile, and a discharge cartridge.
And did you measure the barrel?
Yes, sir.
What? How long was it?
That one was 4 inches as well.
Based on all of that and your training experience, form an opinion as to whether as to what that item is.
I did.
What is that?
Firearm and the ammunition was ammunition in my report as well.
Okay. All right. Next, I'm going to show you the 78. Tell me if you tested that particular pistol.
I did.
Is that state police item 2-3?
It is.
Okay. And did you test it in the same manner you already described for another missile?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What happened when you loaded it with ammunition and pulled the trigger?
It did fire with the water tank, a piece of projectile, as well as one discharge cartridge.
Did you measure the barrel?
On this item here, I believe it was 4 inches as well.
So based on all that, form an opinion what that thing is.
Yes, as a firearm, and did know the same, and documented more or less it within my report that examination and test fire.
Okay. It also came along magazine, it's something I don't have to test, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you examine the magazine and its contents?
I did.
And what did you observe?
The magazine did work properly, and it was loaded with ammunition. That's part of this particular weapon.
Did you note in your report how many cartridges were loaded in it?
In my report.
Right. The weapon you showed us earlier, the pistol that fits in the conversion kit, remember that one?
Yes,
So the one that has the.
micro converted kit.
Yes. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's 83.
Yes, sir.
Could you walk us through how you tested that item and what you observed?
With this weapon here,
Yes.
I'll use one piece of live ammunition, 40 caliber ammunition, loaded it into this weapon, put it into the water tank, squeeze the trigger, press the trigger, fire one light round, with a vehicle, which had a manufacturing.
And there was also submitted, I believe, along with this, 83 had a magazine and some other items. From your report, can you tell us your examination of any magazines and ammunition submitted along with Exhibit 83?
Yes, did use one piece of live ammunition from what we call item 2-10. Loaded that into the magazine, which was used firing into the weapon.
Okay. So based on that, form an opinion as to the item that's next.
Yes, sir.
What's that?
Ammunition.
Measure the barrel of this weapon that's exhibit 83. The pistol that is within it.
Pistol itself, 4.5 inches.
Okay. So based on that, you form an opinion. Based on that, and the testifier, you form an opinion as to what that is.
Yes, sir.
What is that?
A firearm.
Moving on, there was a Palmetto State Armory EA-15 rifle we looked at. Can you recall that?
Yes, sir.
Showing you exhibit 73. What did you do to examine that and test that?
I test fired that with a piece of ammunition that was submitted. Loaded it into a magazine, submitted, pointed it into the water tank, and fired, squeezed the trigger and fired weapon.
Is that, do you also measure the barrel for it?
Yes, sir.
And what did you learn?
Our barrel was 9 1/4 inches long.
Okay. And how is the action? Is that semi-automatic?
Yes, sir.
And can that accept a feeding device at the bottom?
Yes, sir.
Can it accept a feeding device that will hold more than 10 rounds?
Correct.
Does that particular weapon you're looking at have a rifling system also?
It is. It does.
That's item 2-12 on your report, is that right?
That particular weapon is 2-12, yes.
Okay. What is the next item on your report that you tested?
The Palmetto was the 12 gauge semi-automatic shotgun, 12 gauge shotgun.
So that's exhibit 85. For this thing, for this item, which is exhibit 85 for the record, what did you do to test this particular item?
I test fired 1 live 12 gauge shot shell from section inventory, and I did use item 2-13 for our identification, which is the shotgun. Fired that into what we call our SNAP system, which is a little safer for buckshot and shotgun shells. Squeeze the trigger and that fire properly as well, as designed by the manufacturer.
So, did you measure the barrel of that?
The shotgun, yes, sir.
What did you learn?
It was 18.5 inches.
And did you form an opinion based on your training experience for what that is?
Yes.
What's that?
And it is a shotgun.
Okay. Now, when I introduced the item as an exhibit earlier through your testimony, I believe there were also some, there was an item you described as having been recovered from the chamber of that shotgun?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you examine that item to determine what it was?
It was 1 live shot shell, ammunition, qualified as ammunition.
Okay. So do I understand that you visually, you observed that it had to be a property of ammunition?
Yes, we did have component stuff, yes.
And, we also, I believe, admitted an envelope with some items that you described as having been in a tubular magazine that shot. All that?
Yes, sir.
There were little envelopes with contents.
Yes,
You examined those items.
I did.
What did you determine?
That there was live ammunition as well.
What kind of ammunition? What gauge?
12 gauge.
You want to Exhibit 79. You got 5 back from you. Look at Exhibit 79 and tell us what you did to test and measure.
Yes, I did test the weapon using one piece of live ammunition. Loaded it with one of the magazines and pointed it into the water tank, fired it, and it did function as designed by its manufacturer.
And that's the Ruger you displayed earlier, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Am I correct in thinking that's the one that you described that had the infrared laser sight on top?
Yes.
Jesus.
Facts not in evidence. Maybe you're.
Me. Could you look at the item in the box? Tell us what the thing on top of the front part of the weapon is. Show it to the jury when you're referring. What is that electronic?
That's live and a laser.
Okay. Laser what?
Say again?
A laser what?
A laser that'll point at the intended target.
Nice. And the thing below that on the other side, what?
Starting point.
On the bottom.
Forward grip.
Okay, all right, you can put it back in the box. So that particular weapon, you measured it and tested it?
I did.
And what did you observe through your testing?
For the particular weapon, the barrel length was 17.25 inches. It functioned as designed by its manufacturer, and it is a rifle.
When we offered it as evidence, you described recovering an item from the chamber of that particular weapon. Recall that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you examine that item to determine what it was?
Yes, I did.
And what did you observe?
It is ammunition.
You formed an opinion based on your training experience that it brought the property advantage.
Yes, sir.
What's the caliber of the ammunition?
The caliber of the ammunition, 5.56.
Okay. And did that item also come to you with some form of magazine?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you examine the magazine?
Yes.
And what did you observe?
This magazine had a capacity of 30 live pieces of ammunition.
So does the rifle itself tested? Is that something that accepts a detachable magazine?
Yes, sir.
And in this case, one that can hold 1 to 10 round ammunition.
That's correct.
Because you described it as a rifle, does it have a rifling system in the barrel?
Yes, sir.
Did you examine the contents of that 30 round magazine?
I did. Yes, sir.
What, if anything, did you observe?
The contents held 30 live pieces of 5.56 ammunition.
Take that back. Let's let him pause here. It says here for the week. Thank you, Joe. On Monday. Members of the jury, please bear in mind, as you know, we don't sit this trial on Fridays, and so you'll once again have a long weekend, at least as far as this trial goes. We will resume on Monday morning. We will ask you to be back Monday morning at 10 again, Wednesday instead of 9. Because again, we can't space more that needs to be done outside of the evidence that we won't be able to address more. So please be here by 10. I'm going to remind you the instructions as I do each day. We do not discuss the evidence in this case with anyone, including each other. Obviously, the end of the case, we deliver the jury. And you know that so if the person phone conversations, it also means to change cell phone or other electronic device to text, chat, email, tweet, or blog, or if there's anything about this case, social media, other electronic media, or anywhere else. Let's continue that notification whatsoever with the lawyers to target the witnesses. They are expected to provide value order that they do the same respect a year. During the trial, you must continue not to read, watch, or listen to any highly about this case, including Conor. We can follow line 2 instructions. Do in order to know the first is to do your best to minimize the invitation to get out of the case. The second is not to mention your exposure in any way to your fellow jurors. Rather, wait to your next court officer has to speak with them in private, let them know what it is you've been exposed to. Finally, please continue not to do any research or investigation about this case, online or otherwise, or allow anyone else to do so for you. Most importantly, don't use Google or any other online search engine or any type of research tool. Look up anything about the case, the trial, the people involved in. So with that, I hope you enjoy your long weekend. We'll see you Monday morning at 10.
All right, jury exhibit. We'll solve the first roll, followed by the second roll. The 3 more items.
Hey,